So Mark, after coming off that great win last week, what has training preparations been like ahead of facing Leicester this Sunday?
Really good. We've had a different approach, same kind of focus, but we have to do things slightly different because our opponent's slightly different. Leicester are a very, very threatening team, and we have to make sure that we nullify that, but also focus on how we can expose. Being a Manchester United team, their expectation is for you to dictate as much as possible. So we've got to make sure we have a nice balance between the both. But training's been good. Training's been energised. The girls were buzzing with their result and how they played. And you know what the biggest thing was? They saw a stepping stone and a building block that they put in place. This is going to be a project and something that we're going to grow organically together. And so what we saw was a real togetherness and that real connected nature. That's all we've been asking for in pre-season. So it's been really good to see that. I think we could feel that energy this week.
And plenty of our team as well have received international call-ups, with some players returning to the England setup with their new manager now in place. How happy are you for them, with some hoping to receive their first international caps maybe?
I think, look, it's always a pleasure for them to play for their countries. And it's also a passion for them to play for their countries. We all love to play for Manchester United, but when your country calls, it's still a wonderful, wonderful thing for them. So they want to give all of their energy to that too. And I think we have players that will hopefully get a different lens. There's a new manager for England, for example, so that gives a new variance for what she might be looking for. So it opens the door for other players that might have a skill set now that she really values. So I think that's an important thing, because once you have a door opened, it gives you growth and room for growth. So I can already see that in our players. We've had the beautiful thing is we have even the intelligence and kind of the togetherness that, like Ivy this week as well, has decided with the national team, in the best interest of both the national team and herself, that it's not right for her to travel this time because of the restrictions. And it's wonderful that the national team coaches and the players have that relationship where they can see what's best for the individual. I think that's a wonderful thing for Brazil to have Pia doing that, and Ivy to have that grown-up decision, because it then means she can get down to some real work over this next week, and we can really push her here. So everybody else, it's such a privilege to be at a club where we have that amount of players that will go away for international. I'm sure I won't always be saying that, but in this moment it's a good thing.
And how will you deal with the lighter squad, since after Sunday they won't be available until the end of the month?
It just means we've got more time for everybody. It's not for me, international breaks are not a time for us not to work with everybody. We will now put all of our focus, all of our energy into the players that remain here. And I think that's important, because I want everybody to feel important. And just because you're not on your international duty, they will look after themselves. We will now look after them. We'll focus on their development points, their individual development plans, and we'll really push them. So you can already see I'm that energised to be working with them next week. It's not just I'll wait for all of our players to be back. We can get some real good work in. And that's what I'll use international breaks for. You don't often, as a head coach, have time where you're not in and out of competition. So we will use this time wisely. I've already looked at a couple of action plans for some of the players to be here, and we've already had meetings this afternoon. So you can feel that energy. When somebody feels they're committed to them, you get this wonderful energy, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Are there any injury updates, or is it looking like we have a healthy-looking squad for Sunday?
We have a healthy-looking squad. Just got Kirsty Smith at the moment that has took a little niggle, and we're just going to manage her effectively. As you know, it's a long season. So we're just going to balance her this weekend, but everybody else is fit and healthy and raring to go.
Jacky Growing featured in the second half of our game against Reading, and how impressed were you with her, and could she be more involved on Sunday?
Potentially. We're looking at that. We're definitely looking at that as an option for us. But Jacky has an immense ability to find gaps, create gaps, invade gaps. And if you are looking as a coach who loves to get into spaces and invade those spaces, she's a really talented player to have. But what I must stress is that we have a lot of talented midfielders, and that they're all keeping each other on their toes and focusing on all of their qualities. But she definitely was a live wire when she came into the game, and if it's from the start position or whether it's coming into the game, I'm pretty sure she'll do the same against Leicester.
And Leicester will have their first ever home outing in the WSL, so they'll be after a result, especially with a few former Reds now in their side. How tough will this game be, and what can fans expect to see from your team this weekend?
That'll be fresh impetus for them, but I think from what I've seen anyway, home or not, they were energised against Aston Villa their last game, so I think it's important that we focus on what we can do. Leicester are going to be tough. They're players that have been at Manchester United. Will love to get one on their former club, of course, but we also have a focus on what we want to achieve. And I think when you look at what the opponent do, they're a reference for us. That doesn't mean that we take them very, very seriously and we look into every detail that they bring. But for us, it's so important that we focus on what we do. Especially a club like Manchester United, we have to be the best version of ourselves, and then we'll look to impact every opponent that we play through that version of ourselves.
And finally, fans will have their first away day in the league too. How excited are you to see the travelling Reds?
Well, if they're anything like they are at home, I can't wait. It was so noisy. It was wonderful. The energy, the goosebumps. They definitely are that. We talk about a red wave. We talk about crashing against our opponent and continuing to be that red wave. And they start the waves. They're almost the wave machine. They're starting for us. So. All joking aside, their energy and commitment, and their love. You can see a love for the game. That's what I've kind of missed. But since I've been back, I can feel the love for football, and it's almost engrossed in everything that they do. And that's going to be such an energy for us that let's hope we can make the King Power our home with the noise that we make.